félicitations d'être venu à cette conférence donc, qui prend la Norvège comme point assez important et crucial du lab de 2013. La Norvège, pourquoi? Parce qu'en fait c'est un pays qu'on connaît à la fois très bien et pas forcément aussi bien qu'on pensait. C'est un pays qui nous est assez éloigné et en même temps qui est devenu vraiment une pièce assez importante en Europe du monde du festival. C'est un pays donc voilà, qu'on est assez content d'accueillir cette année avec une délégation qui est assez représentative en fait de la diversité des festivals qui ont lieu en Norvège en ce moment. Donc la Norvège, bon, je suis désolé pour tous les Norvégiens qui sont là parce qu'en fait, je vais sûrement leur rappeler des choses qu'ils connaissent déjà forcément, mais on a quand même un public français qui est venu en masse là, il y a quelques minutes. Donc juste un petit cours de géographie et d'histoire, mais vraiment en accéléré. Donc la Norvège, c'est un pays qui est quand même assez immense, ce qui fait quand même sa spécialité, sa spécificité, immense et à la fois peuplé uniquement de 5 millions d'habitants. Donc ça, c'est des chiffres assez approximatifs, mais je pense que je ne suis pas très éloigné de la réalité. Je pense que mes amis norvégiens peut-être pourront me corriger si jamais il y a eu une explosion démographique, mais je crois qu'on est autour de 5 millions. Ce qui fait à peu près une densité de 15 habitants par kilomètre carré, donc c'est assez peu. En gros, il y a des zones du pays dans lesquelles il ne faut pas tomber en panne d'essence. En revanche, là où le record est un peu inversé, c'est que c'est le pays qui a le taux le plus élevé, le truc qui s'appelle l'IDH, qui en gros est un marqueur économique par rapport à leur IDH, je ne sais plus quel est le terme exact par rapport à l'acronyme, mais en gros c'est vraiment un indicateur du bonheur économique du pays et de son développement et de son bien-être. Et en gros c'est le premier IDH au monde, donc c'est un joli record. Sachant donc que le pays fait à peu près 400 000 km², donc c'est voilà, quand même un pays de belle taille. Et qu'en gros, le pays est devenu relativement, a connu un gros développement économique durant la deuxième moitié du XXe siècle. Il a pas mal profité de ses ressources naturelles qui sont évidemment, comme vous le savez tous, le pétrole et le gaz. Et c'est un pays donc qui bénéficie de ressources qui lui permettent d'avoir à la fois un confort de vie qui est assez reconnu pour toute l'Europe, et puis des ressources économiques qui permettent un épanouissement de son tissu culturel. C'est le pays qui nous a évidemment offert l'Aquavit et Eva Jolie, mais surtout des musiciens connus, qui sont dans des genres assez pointus, voilà, qui sont, en tout cas des gens qui sont toujours reconnus, même y compris sur leur niche, des gens comme Kings of Convenience, bien sûr, dans la pop, avec Erlendoy, qui est quand même quelqu'un d'assez, qui était une figure marquante de tout le mouvement électro-rock des années 2000, Royksop, évidemment, qui est une belle machine électro-pop, et puis des gens comme Bugge Wesseltoft, Nils Peter Molver, Thomas Dybdahl, un songwriter qui commence à être connu, des groupes de rock comme Madrugada, et puis toute la nouvelle scène électro, des DJ, toute la scène new disco avec Lindstrom, Chris Thomas, Todd Terje, qui ont été vraiment partie prenante de tout ce revival électro-disco qu'on a eu et qui a créé une sorte de mini-école qui a influencé pas mal de monde il y a quelques années. Et donc pour nous parler de leur pays, de leur métier, de l'identité assez unique que la Norvège propose, on a donc trois représentants de festival, et puis au milieu d'eux on a Kathrine, alors que je vais essayer de ne pas écorcher le nom, je suis désolé pour l'accent, Kathrine Synnes Finnskog, qui est directrice du bureau export en fait norvégien, donc qui s'appelle Musique Norway. Donc Kathrine en fait est au bureau norvégien depuis 2013 et auparavant elle a pas mal travaillé dans la musique, elle connaît très bien l'industrie de la musique norvégienne en ayant été manager pour pas mal d'artistes. Elle a monté sa propre société de management en 2002 et elle s'occupait d'artistes norvégiens comme Annie, Lucifer, Magnet, qui sont tous dans des genres musicaux assez différents. Et donc, voilà, depuis 2013, donc elle officie au bureau export norvégien. Totalement à sa droite, Nous avons Lars Peter Hagen du festival Ultima, Oslo Contemporary Music Festival, qui est en fait le plus grand festival de musique contemporaine norvégien. Il nous en dira plus tout à l'heure par rapport à l'âge de ce festival, mais en gros c'est un festival qui est assez important, il se tient au mois de septembre. Et par ailleurs, Lars est aussi compositeur, et c'est lui qui compose pour Pantin du Prince, et enfin, dans l'association qui s'est faite assez récemment, pour des concerts qui se sont déroulés d'ailleurs, qui sont passés par Paris il y a quelques semaines, et donc qui seront aussi samedi soir dans le cadre de Nuits Sonores. Tout à côté de moi, nous avons Christian Hollingzetter, qui est directeur du festival Insomnia. Insomnia est dans la ville de Tromsø, qui est une ville au nord du pays, carrément au-dessus du cercle polaire, donc une ville qui est totalement éloignée de la capitale Oslo. Ça aussi on en parlera pour voir un peu ce que la géographie joue dans la culture du pays. Donc Insomnia, c'est un festival qui donc se passe dans une ville qui s'appelle Tromsø, qui est la 8e ville de Norvège, en gros 65 000 habitants. Le festival se passe sur une île. Tromsø, c'est une ville qui justement a donné naissance à pas mal d'artistes qui sont connus internationalement, comme Röyksopp ou Biosphère. Et Christian est lui-même producteur électro sous le nom de Le Petit Garçon, en français. On t'expliquera aussi pourquoi, comment, d'où ça vient. Et donc il est directeur de ce festival, et depuis 2012, sachant qu'il a rejoint l'équipe en 2008. Et puis la troisième personne que nous avons, c'est dans ma fiche, c'est Claes Olsen, qui est directeur du festival Oya Festivalen, qui est un des plus gros festivals de Norvège, un festival qui a lieu à Oslo, qui a été créé en 1999, qui a démarré tout petit, qui a grandi gentiment, et aujourd'hui ils arrivent à faire un public d'environ 40 000 personnes par édition, ce qui est quand même énorme. Et voilà, donc c'est un festival qui a tellement grossi qu'ils ont maintenant la puissance de feu pour avoir des têtes d'affiche assez importantes, du genre Kanye West, du genre voilà, enfin, bref. Qui ça, pardon, Emma? Voilà, tout à fait. Les Black Keys, enfin, vraiment c'est un des gros festivals comparables à toutes les grosses cylindrées qu'on peut avoir. Donc en gros l'idée c'est un petit peu avec chacun de ces représentants de festival de savoir un petit peu quelle est l'identité de leur pays, savoir comment ça se passe en Norvège à l'heure actuelle, donc qui est un pays qui est plutôt privilégié par rapport à tous les autres pays européens par rapport à la crise. Essayer de comprendre comment se fait l'économie d'un festival norvégien, comment se décide du coup la programmation, est-ce que ce confort relatif offre plus de liberté, comment aussi se situent les festivals norvégiens par rapport à la culture norvégienne, par rapport aux artistes norvégiens, est-ce qu'ils sont vraiment concentrés sur leurs propres musiciens, est-ce qu'il y a un vrai lien entre la scène norvégienne et la programmation des festivals, quelle est l'ouverture des festivals aux artistes étrangers, et puis aussi comment les festivals servent quelque part la scène norvégienne pour éventuellement chercher des débouchés à l'étranger, chercher un développement international. Ça c'est peut-être autant Kathrine qui pourra nous en parler. D'ailleurs je pense qu'on va démarrer avec Kathrine, parce que j'ai quand même des premières questions à lui poser de base, par rapport au pays, par rapport à la musique, donc déjà par rapport à ton métier. Est-ce que tu peux nous parler de ton métier, en quoi ça consiste concrètement? Même si je pense qu'un bureau export, on sait tous à peu près ce que c'est. Dans tous les pays, il y a des bureaux export qui servent à la promotion des artistes locaux à l'international. Mais toi, par rapport à ton métier, comment tu pourrais nous définir ta mission, ta fonction? En plus, tu as pris tes fonctions relativement récemment. Donc savoir en gros les premiers mois en quoi ça a consisté et quels sont tes objectifs.
Yes, we are the Norwegian Export Office for bringing music, Norwegian music out in the world. We have a mission that is very, I have to take this off now because I'm very confused. But our mission and goal is to, of course, help the the Norwegian artists and the music and the industry around the artists out in the world. We facilitate for them and help them to get out. We do that with different grants and funds that we can support. We do that with council, and we do that with a good office based in Oslo. We are 10 people at the office in Oslo, and we have one office in Berlin and one in London. So what we do is that we work closely with the industry and the artists in Norway and find different markets and for them to development, and yeah, to just find network arenas where we can work and meet the international industry to matchmake Norwegian industry and foreign industry, like arenas like this. So this is actually a good example on how we can bring Norwegians into a network arena and set up meetings and just facilitate that we actually meet each other over a musical event.
Juste une question au public français. Est-ce que ça vous dérange si je pose des questions en anglais, histoire d'aller plus vite et que ça leur évite de remettre leur casque à chaque fois? Pas de souci, a priori? Okay. So I'm going to ask questions in English now. That would be better for you, for the earphones.
Thank you.
So, one question is, from your point of view, regarding the size of the Norwegian population, how would you define the number of festivals? Are there a lot of festivals regarding the population? Not so much if you compare to other countries, European countries.
Norway has great festivals and many festivals, and so we are very lucky that also there's a good infrastructure within the festivals in Norway. They also give good fees for the Norwegian artists, which also actually helps us to save money at home and using that money to travel and to invest our money to actually develop new markets and go out, travel out from Norway. There is also a lot of the Norwegian festivals have good international programs, so we can set up meetings also at home, inviting guests to the Norwegian festivals and make sure that that is also a good network arena for the Norwegian artists and industry to meet the guests that we invite in. So yeah, it's a very good structure around the Norwegian festivals.
And so, as I said, geographically, Norway is a very strange country. It's a huge country, but I don't know how to say in English, but it's a kind of big étendue of extent. Thank you, Emma. Big extent of land from north to south, and so of course there are so many kilometers between some cities like Tromsø and Oslo. Does it help to get some very strong specificities in each city, because they are not easily linked each to other one? So we have two festivals from Oslo and one from Tromsø. How would you define the identity you have regarding the distance?
Quite different. All three festivals is different, and we have different approach to music, as music is. But from Tromsø we see on the Oslo scene in electronic music, and I don't know if I should say it, but I find it quite boring, the Oslo scene of music, because of there is no, it doesn't evolve, it's just staying the same thing and reproduces itself, and we've done it for years. In Tromsø we have the electronic music as the base of our music industry. Everything emerged out of Tromsø, the likes of Bjørn Torske, Per Martinsen, Røyks Opp, obviously Biosphere. So I think we as a city in Tromsø has our own identity. and many internationals are keen to see and understand this identity.
And what you say, can we say it from each big city of Norway, for example with Bergen or other city, are they all their own identities and living with their own scene and without communicating from one city to another, with Oslo, which could be the main center of the country? Maybe.
Of course, it's most of the Norwegian population lives in the surroundings of Oslo, and people move down there.
And from an Oslo point of view, don't you think that Norway is a very centralized country, which is mainly focused on the capital, and
yeah, I suppose. I mean, most of the artists in Norway live in Oslo, so I suppose it's to a certain extent true. But you also have the fact that, I mean, absolutely every small town in Norway, I mean, the very soul of Norway is independent. It's indie. Norway is an indie country, so we all claim to be different, and we all claim to be independent, and especially all the small cities in Norway, they claim to be independent, and they have this approach which is really, really healthy, I think, that they don't look to Oslo because they don't like Oslo, so they look to Europe or the US or Asia or wherever things happen. So I think you have a quite international and interesting variety of festivals within Norway because of that kind of internal struggle
and competition. Yes. And so, Kathrine, from your point of view, how would you define the country and all these separate cities? Is it something special, or does it look like any other country?
I'm not sure, but I think it's a little bit like Lars Petter says, that every city, or even if it's big or small in Norway, tends to have their own festival. So it's everyone tries to start a festival. I think someone gets more lucky than another, but I think the festivals that try to find an identity and that tries to create this atmosphere around music, like Tema and Insomnia, and also Ultima and Øya here, is what they have been doing is have created a bigger identity around the festival that makes them also interesting. So I think that is also very helpful for them to stand out.
And Claes, from your point of view, so you're at the head of one of the biggest festivals in Europe and one of the biggest of Norway. What's your point of view? Have you the feeling that Oslo is rather dominating and?
I've always been had a view that I don't care where the music is coming from, and especially within Norway. So it's always like, it was one year where we had 3 bands from a small place called Haugesund on the west coast, and then suddenly everybody was like, hey, Haugesund is a new big city. It's like, hey, none of these bands are going to be big, and they're cool, they're good, and that's why I booked them. I don't care where they come from. And of course, a lot of smaller cities, they will like raise a flag and say, hey, we are the best now, and they're fighting to be like most popular and labeled. But for me, I don't care about where it comes from, as long as it's good music. So, but we as a festival in Oslo, we also care about our local music scene. And we have a really, really strong and healthy club venues in Oslo. And we do, on the day before our festival, we use 25 venues for kind of, we call it the club day, with free shows with 80 acts. And it's not that many cities with 500,000 people that can actually have 25 really good venues. And then we don't use anything else than just venues, because we want to use venues that are actually running all year round and make the music scene healthy, when we're not doing it in August. So, yeah.
And so the festival has started small and is now huge. Does it mean that at the beginning it was only focused on Norwegian artists, or was it already with international lineup?
When we started, we were some friends that all were running small venues, like 100 capacity, and I was running a 300 capacity venue. And we all saw these good Norwegian bands that couldn't get any business or any, they didn't happen anything with them, they were just like these small basement bands. And so we thought that, okay, they were not treated very well by the other Norwegian festivals, like the bigger festivals in Norway at that time. So they were always on the bottom of the bill and nobody really cared about them. So we decided to turn that upside down and just have Norwegian bands in the beginning. So the first year we only had Norwegian bands, and that kind of followed with us all the time, that we want to present Norwegian band with a goal that help them out to be like a platform where we can help them, and not only just put them on the bill at the end of the process, but actually instead of, for example, we do one thing, instead of announcing headliners first, like international big headliners, we're always announcing small Norwegian bands first. So actually bands that nobody heard about, and then they get that attention to kind of grow and make it more healthy.
And the audience now, what's the percentage of people coming from international audience first, and professionals from other countries which are coming?
From the ticket bars, it's about 7% is from outside Norway. 7%. It's not huge, but as I told you earlier today, the Norwegian it's expensive to go to Norway. So our goal to, when we are present here or at other festivals around Europe, we don't do it to sell tickets to the normal music lovers, because it's great if they come, but I think we understand we have to be realistic that we're not going to sell thousands of tickets in Germany or France. We have to, because it's too expensive to go to Norway to some extent.
Last, Peter, maybe before we talk about your point of view, maybe can you just present your festival, because maybe it's one it's less known. When did it start? What's the history behind the festival?
Yeah, it's a festival for contemporary music. It started 21 years ago, in 1990, 23 years ago actually. So, and it was, the starting point was that you had several ensembles and institutions in Norway working with contemporary music. At that point it was mostly symphony orchestras, the opera, some classical ensembles, and some venues, and they wanted to create a festival that showed the high level of performers and composers living in Norway. And then, since then, I mean, the term contemporary music has developed a lot. At that point, it was mostly symphonic music and chamber music, and some quite academic electronic music. Now, the contemporary music term is really wide. And I think that's maybe one of the biggest strengths of the Ultima Festival, is that we have a very open program profile. We have huge productions, like this year we have Ligeti, Le Can Macabre at the main stage as a Norwegian opera. But we also do really small club projects with experimental electronic music. So we like to think that we are a festival for new musical ideas. And we don't care about which genre. I mean, it can be folk music, it can be classical music, it can be electronic music, it can be whatever, as long as it has this kind of exploration starting point for making music. We think that the music belongs at the Ultima Festival. So it's 10 days, huge venues, 25 different venues, all kinds of styles.
And in terms of audience and budget, is it?
The budget is approximately 1.3 million euros, I think. But that's without the costs of the Oslo Philharmonic, for instance, and the Norwegian Opera. So it's bigger than that. But yeah, the audience is around 12,000 people.
And just to finish about facts, Christian, to understand your festival, about the size and about the kind of lineup that you have.
Yeah, we try to. We are quite really small festival. We have a budget of 300,000 euros this year, and it's all-time high budget-wise. And last year we had 3,000 attendances to this club event. And we are a club festival. We promote ourselves as a club festival. We are indoors. And we cannot afford the big headliners. But we can sell the nature and the surroundings that we live in. So that's our key card in negotiating about contracts. Would you try to get the pulse of Europe, what is happening in the UK, what is happening in Germany, and are there any interesting acts in Norway at the time? And we need to be a little bit commercial and stuff, so we try to get this some commercial acts as well that actually can sell tickets. But before it was all about the curating thing, the image and stuff. Last year we just thought, yeah, we need a Røyksopp DJ set to get audience. And it worked. So we'll try to have this headliner thing this year as well. Because we need to survive, and we have some room in the curating because we got this 3-year funding from Norwegian Art Council this year, so the future looks bright.
So each year at the European Lab we always have conferences which talk about the problem for financing festivals and the problems to have a good source of funding and revenues, and to be sure that festival will be still alive the next year. And it seems that Norway is a kind of exception because you have, as I said, this good health for the economy. For you, how would you define the role of public funding? How are the practice in Norway, and have they evolved in the time? And for maybe 20 or 30 years, how is the position of city or even the government regarding culture and development of festivals?
That was a big question.
I want a big answer too.
Yeah. I think Norway is a small market, and when I talk to festivals, when we kind of competing to get artists, like the big names or the small ones, we are kind of competing with festivals that sell 50,000 or 80,000 tickets, and then we are maybe the biggest in Norway and sell 15. So it's kind of a big difference. But it's not that I think the money we get from fundings is, for us, is like 3% of our budget. So it's not like a lot, but it helps. And, I think it's important to have the healthy festival situation, but also there could be lazy, a lot of laziness. And the Norwegian festivals over the last 5-6 years, it's not been just 100% healthy. We had a festival in Norway last year that was a 2-day festival, and they lost like 4 million euros in 1 year, like for a 2-day festival. So that's not healthy. Kind of makes if you put an average, it kind of drag all the rest down. But still, there's lots and lots of festivals compared to how many people live in the country, and the small funds they get to. I think it's to get the money to get started and to do special things, and also to get the programs for inviting international media and international industry to the festivals. That's helpful for the Norwegian music scene. So, I don't know if that was an answer to your question, but
yes. But for typically for your festival, how has been the relationship, for example, with the city of Oslo when you started? Did they see your festival like a kind of opportunity for them to have a huge festival that could be important for the image and for tourism, even for the development of the city in general? And did you get help from them? And did this help went bigger and bigger when the festival had success?
I think we were far under the radar of the local government when we started the festival. So we didn't get any grant and fundings the first 3 or 4 years, I think. And then after but we were also really unprofessional when we started. We had no clue what we were doing. We just wanted to put up a festival to invite our friends, and then the friends of the friends. But after a while it grew more professional, and then you had to take care of the business as well, and then get more professional, making applications and stuff. So, I think the problem, I think it's important that a lot of things is under the radar of the local government and the funding system as well. But it's more to make it possible to not have too many rules, not make it too difficult to start up new festivals and actually make it possible. So I don't think the government should put money into everyone that has an idea, because the idea has to grow within, and otherwise it just be a lot of lazy people trying to write good applications.
And Christian, for you, how would you define the economic model of your festival? How does it work?
We are purely helped by governmental money. 60% of our total budget is public funding, actually, and we also have been funding by the European Union in another project. So
it's since the beginning.
Since the beginning, we started in 2002, and it was like Claes. Every festival should start this way, with local talent, and Vidar from Beat Service Records was into this thing, just curates Norwegian electronic music. And then it's developed and evolved, and we had this crisis in 2007 when somebody had this idea. In 2006, someone had this idea to book Public Enemy. And it was a disaster, and we almost went bankrupt. So we needed to start again in 2007 to build up the infrastructure and to be more creative in what we actually are booking bands. And now we see it, for us, it's a huge gift, and we feel like we have accomplished something when the Norwegian Art Council is giving us this 3-year funding. So small steps, and I think we're staying on this level forever, I guess.
I just want to say that when a lot of other festivals around Europe, envy the Norwegian festivals get fundings, and then I'll always reply that we don't. It's not in Norway. It's not allowed to have advertisement for cigarettes or alcohol. So which is kind of the core base of 90% of all festivals in Europe. So when the Norwegian former Prime Minister Haugland were working for this World Health Organization and going to get banned cigarettes and alcohol for the whole Europe, then there will be problems in Europe for festivals. But so far we are happy without it.
Then Red Bull can come and sponsor.
Red Bull can take over. But that was illegal in Norway just 2 years ago, Red Bull.
And Christian, just to finish, how do you explain all these public funds? What's the interest and what's the exchange in the relationship?
With public funding?
Yes. From the public point of view, why do they give this, and what do they expect? What is their interest?
I think we get money from the county of Troms, and then get from the Tromsø City Council. We get funding, yearly funding, like 40,000 euros. And because they want this, they want some contrasts in the city environment. Because if Tromsø City had been the survival of the fittest thing, then Egon Holstad, it's a famous Norwegian character, he will define whatever is cool and what's not cool. So the city council has always seen us Insomnia as an important player of the musical scene in Tromsø, because it's such a small little island.
Because it's a small island, but there are a lot of students. There is a university,
yes.
So maybe it was important for them for the city to have a festival for all the youth.
Yeah, I think that there are so many different things happening in Tromsø at the moment. it's actually more attractive to students and business. We see in Tromsø today it's almost as expensive as living in Oslo at the time, because everybody wants to come to the north now.
And Lars, for your festival, how is the economic model between, there are a lot of public funds?
A lot.
100%?
Probably the best public funding in Norway. No, not 100%, no. but probably 70%. And then we have money from the city of Oslo, and we have money from the government, and also from a EU program called the Réseau La Race, and of course tickets. And but I think for me, I mean, this is also, I mean, public money comes with big obligations. With big obligations, and for me, the obligations for the Ultima Festival is about challenging the idea of music. And I mean, that's our main task, that we every year try to do stuff that would be impossible to do if we didn't have public funding. If we were dependent on tickets or sponsors, we couldn't do very much our program, because we need to take some big risks to challenge the idea of what music is. And that's, for me, that's a big obligation. And the biggest danger is that we stop doing that, and then we don't deserve our money anymore. So, in a way, if we start to make a lot of money, then we're probably doing something wrong. So I think, I mean, the government, they give money basically because of, I mean, there are three main reasons. The most important one is to support unique artistic activity, original work, and then you also have this aspect of supporting the districts, which is important in Norway. People should live all over the country and have access to music festivals. And then you also have this aspect of cultural exchange and education. So this is the three things that you have to answer for, so to speak, when you receive public funding in Norway.
And in all your festival, what's the role of the private partnerships, the role of the brands? Are there specific Norwegian brands, or like in any other European festival, some brands which are like, you were talking about Red Bull, for example, have they the same policy in Norway than in other countries, being partner from special festivals?
Red Bull is mainly about sports in Norway so far, but they've done like small things within the electronic scene. But as I said, they were illegal in Norway just 3 years ago. So, but for us, the structure of the Oya Festival is owned by 5 friends that started the festival. So we're really 100% independent.
Yes.
And but we have sponsors, like, but we try to find what can I say? We don't want to have like Steamroll and like really big like McDonald's and that kind of stuff. So we try to take it down. So for example, we have the yellow pages. These kind of just give information to the audience. It's kind of not put the brand in your face and putting on flyers and stuff. And we also have one of the local electricity companies, which has been really environmental. And we have like a hi-fi store, chain store. It's something that actually works with the audience we have, and we try not to have too many sponsors that are kind of just want to be there for showing the logos and actually give something to the audience.
And so, are they long relationships with these brands, or do you have to look for new partnerships every year?
Not every year, but we try to get 3 years deals normally. So.
And for you, Christian, does your position and does public funds allow you not to have to work with brands?
We need to. We're actually sponsored by an Italian oil company. So we are
olive oil?
Olive oil. Because we want to, actually. we want to be like, so we had this, but yeah, of course, if you have a total amount of, you can actually do whatever you want. And for us to have private sponsors, if they're trying to make us do something we don't want to do, they'll say, okay, the deal is off. And with this Italian ENI, the Italian oil company, we can do whatever we want. We had an oil debate last year with the oil's impact on the north of Norway, because most of the oil resources in Norway now is in the north of Norway. And this is why people are moving there. So we just had a debate about what is actually the oil doing with our part of this country. And they think they thought they was in this panel as well, and they thought it was great to have a discussion. Because no one wanted to touch it. Which in the debates of oil, there are always people against. They don't want to talk to the people that are pro-oil business.
So we've talked about the importance of the Norwegian music scenes on every city or county. How would you define actually the music scene in your country regarding your festival? Do you think that there are enough new emerging artists that you can program and that you can be proud of, or how would you define actually, because we've talked a lot here a few years ago about the explosion of new artists, new Norwegian artists. For you, what's your point of view actually how do you feel the music scene actually in Norway, in your own respective areas, and regarding your programmation for your festivals? In one question, are you happy with what you can program in Norway?
Me? I think it's the old guys are doing it. In the electronic music scene, it's too. There are no new artists that I'm fond of. Like, and you see like from the US, you get Laurel Halo. She's 22 years old, and she's one of the best electronic musicians in the world at this time. But we don't have it in Norway because everybody wants to do pop music, I guess. And we cannot pick them up. We're maybe not doing a good enough job, that's probably it. But we see, and also the prices of Norwegian artists. We can get Laurel Halo for the same amount as any new Norwegian artist. And what do we choose? We can get top-notch electronic musicians, or we can get something new Norwegian.
We found a few new Norwegian electronic artists this year that gonna play here next year, I think. But I think there's lots of talent in Norway, and this year actually I have 3 slots left, like for the called the demo acts, like the really smaller acts, and I have a list of like 15 that are really so difficult to choose. We already programmed a lot already, so I think there's lots of good things coming. So I think it's healthy. And a lot of it's coming out of Oslo, so that's why I know it.
I think Oslo is actually a very interesting music scene at the moment. So that's relevant. I mean, you have this, at least in my field, I think it's interesting the way people work across different musical borders and how they collaborate. And maybe it has something to do with Oslo being a very small capital, only 500,000 people living there. So it's people who's studying at the music conservatory are the same people who's playing at jazz clubs or doing DJ sets at electronic music clubs. So you have these really close connections between musical genres, which is also maybe the success of especially the Norwegian jazz scene the last 20 years. And I think you can see more and more of that coming into the experimental music scene in general, and I think it's exciting times.
And Kathrine, how would you define the role of Norwegian festivals in your mission? How do they help you to promote the local scene? How would you describe the actual landscape?
We have different programs with a lot of Norwegian festivals. This year we work of course close with bureaux, as you know, the festival you know. International they have an international program, so we can work together with them in finding good people to invite and take care of them while they're here and make sure that they have a good time and see very good Norwegian acts. The same with Ultima. We work close with the embassies outside, like the French embassy here, to find the good people to invite over. So and then we can participate in making an international program for them. So we work close with different Norwegian festivals with international programs. But it's a lot of festivals that wants to have an international program because it in some extent gives you access to government money. So we try to work with the festivals both within Norway and also international that comes with us with the musical idea first. So when we also choose to work close with this event and this festival was when we worked close with in the research and when we decided to do this. We also met Stefan and Meryl at Eurosonic this year, and they sold this festival and their Norway focus to us because of the music. They've already decided for the Norwegian focus, they've already booked the artists. So it's much more easy and healthy for us to go into Network Arena when the music is chosen. So they came to us with the love for the music first and not chasing our money. So we aim to look for where the heart of the music is first.
And how would you define the opportunities for Norwegian artists, indie artists, to sell outside of Norway? Because it's not an easy thing to do actually, to sell records generally. And how is your mission?
I think it's good to know that you have a market when you want to export your music, to have infrastructure or have something to help you. If we are giving travel support or grants or funds to help artists or the industry to get to travel out of Norway, it's very important for us to look into the structure around the artists, both national and international, if they actually have someone that wants it as much as they want it outside, and also that they know that there is a market for them, a demand for them. If not, I think it's very easy just to give a little bit of support to everybody and say good luck. I think it's important to put some manpower on top of our grants, so we actually know that there is good things happen before, under and after exporting an artist.
And so we talked earlier about the Midem, where we were this year in January in Cannes. So the booth you had was the booth of Norway was integrated in a whole Scandinavian booth with Denmark, Iceland, and Finland, and Sweden. For you, is it important to be part of this Scandinavian area, or would you prefer not to be on your own and just to develop your own identity and to show that each country has its own kind of artist, its own style, its own identity? How would you describe this actual attitude?
I think we need both. I think there is a different strategy for each country, for each Scandinavian country, because we are different. And I think it's for a lot of so it's two things. We sometimes need to collaborate to like for meet, and we do it because we get better deals if we work together. So it makes it easier for us to get a big stand. But it also is very good for us because we get to know each other better and we know each other's strategy. So I think it's, for a Norwegian artist, it might be as difficult to break into Sweden as into UK. So it's so we work together on a strategic level on how to actually also export to each other markets. And I guess it's a lot of international people that see us as Scandinavia as one market, but I think it's different markets.
Exactly, that's what I meant. In fact, it's what you said. It's as difficult for a Norwegian artist to penetrate Germany than Sweden, for example. And from festival's point of view, what's your position regarding competitions that you may have? Do you position yourself regarding other Scandinavian festivals, or are you totally free of thinking?
We position ourselves actually together in working with the Swedish festival, because there was a company in Sweden that were doing small festivals, but after 5 years we encouraged them to start a festival the same weekend as us, because it was easier to get international bands to Scandinavia when we were more of us. So we work really close with a festival in Gothenburg in Sweden, and then a festival in a Flow festival in Finland. So we make a lot of joint offers together with them. So we don't see it as competition. We think it's far up from when we are in Central Europe. Then it's easy for a band to travel from France to Belgium to the Netherlands, and also for the audience. But to get up to Scandinavia, we are in a better position if we are more together. So we can give better offers and make it more attractive for the artists.
So it means that when two are complicated to organize for an American headliner, you can see with other festivals if you can arrange and share and make a kind of mini tour of for okay. And that happens often?
Yeah, well, we're different because we do a lot of Norwegian acts, which they don't do. But we do more like the Flow Festival in Finland. They are much more just electronic, and we do more diverse kind of music. But we do, I would say, like 45–50% of the acts. The international acts we make offers together. So,
And Lars, for you, have you the opportunity to work with other festivals?
Yeah, I mean, we are so much, the Ultima Festival is so much bigger than all the other contemporary music festivals in the Nordic countries. But that gives us a quite interesting role, because we are in a way the meeting place for the music business, and we are also the meeting place. I mean, we are the festival where curators from abroad come to discover Nordic music. So in a way we have this, I feel that we have this responsibility towards the other Nordic countries to present a kind of Nordic program, Nordic composers, Nordic ensembles, Nordic artists, so we can be some kind of stepstone to international stepstone for Nordic artists.
And all of you, how would you consider the actual situation in Europe regarding the crisis we have and that affects the economy of a lot of festivals? Do you think that it's something that may be bad, of course, for your own country? And are you worried? How do you see the situation actually from a European point of view, and the consequences it may have on your own business?
Yeah, well, I mean, for the classical music business, I mean, it has been quite serious already in Europe, especially in Benelux and Netherlands in particular. And I mean, it has also certain positive effects because it cleans out some of the old rubbish. I'm not entirely negative to change, especially not in the classical music industry. So, but on the other hand, I mean, there's a big chance that what happens, for instance, in the Netherlands was that the government decided to shut down, I think, 10 orchestras or something like that, and all local orchestras in the different cities of Netherlands. What happened was that the cities, they said that, oh, you can't do this. We love our orchestra, so okay, we're gonna fund it ourselves. But when the city started to fund the orchestra, they didn't any longer have political obligations to what kind of repertoire they should play. So they ended up only playing New Year's Eve's concerts all year, you know, because that's what the politicians wanted in the different cities. So yeah, you completely lost this artistical development aspect of public funding, and I think that's really, really serious, because if you end up with public funded ensembles and art life which do not have the responsibility to challenge, then I think it's a big problem for music in the future.
And from your point of view, for your festival, that's the crisis we have here has been a problem for you in the previous editions. Have you felt that it was more complicated? That, for example, headliners were more expensive? Or?
I think it's different reasons why the headliners are expensive. But the crisis in 2008, that was a little bit, that was more shifting towards sponsorships and stuff. That more companies, a lot of companies, they didn't go badly in Norway, but they decided to clean out, and it was easy to say no to things and all the things that we didn't have to do. And but we've been lucky in Norway. We don't have a recession like the rest of Europe, so still the young people that want to go to festivals, they still have jobs and money, or they go to the university or whatever, and so it's still healthy in Norway. But I think maybe we will see after this festival summer how it goes, because like the rest of Europe, because a lot of people asking me the question all the time that do you think the festivals in Europe will be healthy, and maybe we are the only healthy left after this summer, I don't know, but hopefully not. I think it's good that there's something all around Europe, and but for us it's more competition from America and Japan, and getting artists.
From Russia?
Not so much. Maybe there's something in Russia, but not in August, so which I'm aware of, but we have like festivals, especially in America, they're growing up so many festivals, and that's going to be a competition for Europe, because they have a big population and a lot of money and huge stadiums and stuff. So that's our main competition. Even for the smallest new cool act or whatever, they have to compete with Japan or America.
And Christian, what's your point of view? Do you think that all the oil you have in front of your window will protect you?
Protect the cultural life of Europe, that's one fact. But of course, everything in Norway is from oil. If we didn't have oil, all our oil money, the Norwegian Art Council wouldn't give out so much money as they do. But we also see it, the Norwegian Art Council is going out in Europe to fund specific projects like this sub-accord thing during the Transmediale in Berlin. It was fully financed of Norwegian Art Council. So we can see that we can do projects outside of Norway. But we're also collaborating with 9 European festivals in a project called European Cities of Advance, who is EU funded. But if you get European money, you need to have 50% matching funds. And everything was set until this year, because today's art lost all their public funding in Den Haag. So we're trying to collect some money to give to today's art, because we are doing commissions work with them, and if they cannot give the 50% matching funds, then everything collapses towards the projects. What we had said to the European Union that we actually are going to do. So that's quite a challenge. We're meeting in Kiev on Wednesday to discuss it. So
it will be fixed on this issue.
Yeah, and Olaf, the director of Today's Art, is now starting a festival in Moscow because there is the money.
Yes, that's why I was asking the question about Russia, because there are more and more festivals and more and more money to get headliners very, very quickly. Do you think that will be an emerging market for festivals and a close competitor to Nordic countries?
I think it's good as Claes says here, this joint offers. It's cheaper for everyone if you collaborate. We are collaborating with the Echo Festival and New Music. But the Echo Festival and Summer Festival is the same weekend, so we have this flight share thing because it's more healthy economically. We can actually fly one act from San Francisco with flight share, and it costs nothing.
And Kathrine, in terms of emerging artists, what are your actual focus? Are there some names that are emerging and that you would dream to push and to become the next people that will emerge from Norway?
I think there is a lot of talents from all genres coming from Norway, but I think it's not our role to be the one that develops artists. I think that is the industry that should find them, locate them, develop them, and present them. And our role is to make sure that they can do that. Actually, that they can build an industry around it. I think also for us it's important and very useful to be present here to see what a door opener this event can be for the electronic artists. I think it's very inspiring both for the industry and also for the artists. And for us it's very, we learn a lot about the French market and how we can continue working here. So our strategy is for different markets, for different genres and different artists. But I think it's important to have some focus. So France for us now is a focus for this year and next year to try to understand the market better, to know the people, and to present it both out and back home.
A lot of export offices from many countries have problems to understand French market. For you, it's the same. It's a very different country if you compare it to, of course, UK, Germany, Italy. It has its own specificities. That's why you've noticed too.
Yeah, I think it's different strategy for different markets. I think you should have respect for a new market and a new territory, and you should try to work it from within. And that means a lot of networking, having good relationships, and continue growing them.
Mm. And in another way, for the festivals, what are your relationships with French artists? Since electronic scene has exploded in France, does the image of France has changed? Does the image of French artists has changed? Has it been an influence? Has it been something that has been important for Norwegian people?
I think the Ed Banger wave was quite important for the Norwegian people. It was in 2006, 2007. It was really amazing. Everybody was talking about justice and Paravon, and it was amazing to watch. And then it suddenly died. You didn't hear anything. And you see them Justice have a DJ set at Sonar this year, but that's it. It disappeared in some kind of way.
Maybe in Norway, but in France they are still issuing records,
touring,
and Justice is just issuing a live album actually, and maybe they're gonna do next year to promote it. Daft Punk is coming back, but maybe you're aware of that.
But in general, we had French acts. We had Sir Alice. It's kind of a contemporary performance. That was really awesome, actually. It's in 2007. So we tried to look at the scene, but DJ Huse from Germany said once it's released too much electronic music this decade, last decade. Everybody releasing 12-inch, so how can I actually follow through?
But does those artists have been helpful to a lot of young Norwegian artists to know that in France there was something, and maybe they wanted to play because it's difficult, but it was something that was new, and it was not only Germany for electronic music, and France was maybe a new country, a new emerging country for this electro and techno scene.
Yeah, especially this electro pop thing. It was 2006, 2007. Everybody made electro pop. But now we see that the Norwegian scene is making bass music, like this British bass music, and I think that's interesting.
From your point of view, for your festival, how French artists have been important, and was they important in the link between Norwegian artists and France, and the opening to Europe?
I'm not sure, but the Norwegian market is kind of, especially when it comes to electronic music like Justice. They came in, I think we had them at œuvrant in 2005 or 2006, like just when they kind of arrived. And if we booked them like 2 years later, people were like, hey, that's like 2 years ago. And like, especially when it's electronic mixed with pop, how can I say it? It gets popular really fast and die really quickly in Norway. So there's no big. I think here they can grow healthy in kind of an underground, like longer. But the Norwegian market is always transparent, so you get like really quick up and really quick down again. So if we have booked Justice now, people are like, what? Probably they will maybe sell tickets, but I don't think they will sell a lot. And I don't know. The same with all the headbanger thing, it's kind of died out. But I know in America, over here, a lot of other players, bigger countries, they still like are big. So I don't know if that was an answer to your question.
And from your point of view, have you felt something with?
I mean, we had quite much. Throughout the years, quite much collaboration with France, especially Haugland, and Ensemble Contemporary, and all this now quite conservative and old institutions. And I think for the last 10 years, it has been a problem in my field that has been. The French music scene has had a kind of institutionalized and conservative turn when it comes to those fields. And I think that something is happening now, and we have a much bigger subcultural scene. Also with the experimental music, it's not so controlled by some central institutions as it used to be. And we had Jackson and his computer band a couple of years ago, and he had this kind of this way of approaching electronic music, and also composers like François Saran. People who's working, cross art direction, and I think it's an interesting tendency.
Okay, so thank you very much. I'm gonna ask the audience if they want the mic to ask some questions. Je sais pas si vous avez des questions. Peut-être les Norvégiens ont des questions ou des réactions. Sinon, je ne sais pas si on peut passer le micro, si vous avez des questions par rapport au festival norvégien, par rapport à l'expérience, par rapport à tout ce qui a été dit.
Besides your stars, artists, maybe it's more for you. But you think we don't have, maybe we might have a problem. We can't afford your artists, your medium-sized artists, outside of Norway. Because a headliner, you pay for a headliner wherever it comes from. But when it's middle-sized, but it's...
Yeah, I think it can be. I think it's both, that's why it's so important to travel and to understand the new market and the fee levels. I think that the fee level and the whole not the hospitality, but the whole the facilities at the Norwegian festivals are quite good, and at the venues are quite good. So it's maybe you're not spoiled, but you get used to good standards. And when you start to travel around in Europe or in Germany, for instance, or in US, it's very, very bad standards on local venues. So it's important to understand your market and where you're going and have your expectations right. So it's, yeah, if you want to travel and go abroad.
But I can, because in Norway it's we export just not music from Norway, we have industry as well, and this is a problem that Norwegian projects are too expensive, like you said.
Yeah, no, I think it's a sign of, I mean, it goes along, it's not by chance.
Yeah, so the thing that the government has given all the businesses tax reduction. Maybe the musicians should have tax reduction as well.
I can take Jarle Bernhoft as a good example. He had a strategy for France last year. And I think a lot of Norwegian artists want to like take over the whole world at once. So you go out and you try everything, and you expect to get the same fees and the same standards that you get at home. But if you make one strategy for one country and you use enough time to explore it and how to work it, I think it's much more organic and healthy way to grow and to export and explore a new market. And what Jarle did was that he started to travel without his band and alone, and went first to, first they booked 200 capacity venues themselves and sold out, so they could quickly turn it into 800 capacity venue. So it started to grow because there was a demand in the market, and then they also can raise your fees. So I think you can use your money that you get from home and to invest in a new territory, but that's it has to grow organically.
I'm in the board for one of the funding systems, and I read a lot of applications, and there's lots of Norwegian bands touring Europe for fees like 100 to 500 euros. So I don't think all Norwegian bands are expensive. But they get funds when they like to tour for 100 euros fees, even if they're big in the world.
We know that one of the biggest costs for a local promoter is, of course, the travel. So that's why we have the travel support or the grant is for the travel. And then the fees should be for the artists. So it's balance.
If it doesn't bother the other, that we I work with Swiss artists with Swiss funding, and sometimes you know that you're not taken seriously if your fees, what you make wherever, is too low, which is totally stupid, because if you go to, I don't know, South Africa, Senegal, except it's a big event with big sponsor, you're gonna get really no money, and it's okay, and in a way it's good that you get support, but sometimes dishonesty is not paying, and then we don't get the channel, and nothing happens.
Is it a question? Yeah, we can discuss this very much later.
For Tromsø, to going to Tromsø for booking artists, and isn't it complicated? Isn't it very expensive to?
Yeah, it's, I think Anita from Trana has a bigger problem actually. But, if you are in advance, if you can program a festival in advance, it's not so much more expensive. But you actually need to use 2,000 Norwegian kroner for each artist. More than we have in Oslo. Therefore, we can do this flight share thing. We can do the flight share with the club in Oslo for one act. You pay to Oslo, we pay. So you need to be creative in how you can get the travel expenses as low as possible. Then you need to collaborate with other people.
Hello. I'm quite interested because we are all talking about money mainly right here, and I mean, a project has to be on several years. So I was interested to get your vision, your future vision on each of your festivals, because everyone is talking about strategy, and that's a good point actually, to adapt it on each country. But what is your vision? What are you bringing for the artist tomorrow, except the public, which is a big point, of course?
The festival in the future, it's of course for artists, it's exotic to come from, so that's what we are playing. In the future of the festival, we want to develop into to the art scene of the electronic and digital culture. And we're also working with this term, the networking tomorrow's art for an unknown future. So we're always talking about how we can do everything better. Actually, we're not laying down and drinking champagne.
Of course, I always asking the question as a booking agent, thinking not so much about the money, but how the festival can help the artist to develop.
Out. Yeah, we are in this European thing. We can pick out artists from Norway that we have done and send them to Germany, for instance, or to Sonar to play at our expense. So it's like Insomnia Festival presents one label or one artist. But to do it, you need a big network.
Of course.
Yeah. And we have a big network, so we can do it, and we're going to do it for many years forward.
Maybe a quick comment to that.
Well, from a record company's point of view, having Norwegian local talents being booked for local festivals is a good incentive for us to bring to the other countries for exploitation. So it does really matter to get the names on the plaques.
Yeah.
Yeah. So VIU helps us export the music. Everything is good.
Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions? Je crois qu'on va mettre un terme à cette conférence. Merci à tous d'avoir participé. Thank you for your participation.